Jim Carrey just proved that we can no longer tell what is real and what is fake, because this interview of him looks and sounds nothing like the world-famous actor we once knew.
You know, I wrote it and I researched it and I practiced it like crazy.
This viral clip had millions of people making accusations that Jim Carrey was cloned, or at least using a body double, which is something he has admitted to doing in the past.
I've done this a few times now, and it's using a decoy.
I'm sorry, a decoy?
Using a decoy. It sounds so ridiculous, but it works like a
like a double.
It's fantastic.
But the conspiracy ramped up to a whole new level when an artist who specializes in making realistic masks posted what appears to be what Jim could have been wearing on the red carpet. Plus, it's not like it's the first time a celebrity has had widespread rumors that they have been cloned and the star we once knew is secretly somewhere else, or dead. However, there is a lot of misinformation spreading, as well as important context you need to know before you come to the conclusion of what happened to Jim Carrey. But you still won't be 100% sure, because in 2026 we constantly have to ask ourselves the question, is anything we ever see genuinely real? Jim Carrey attended the Caesar Awards in France to receive an honorary award for his versatility as an actor. When he jumped on stage, audience members were impressed that he gave his 5-minute acceptance speech entirely in French.
Bonsoir, merci beaucoup, c'est très gentil. En tant qu'acteur, chaque personnage que vous incarnez, c'est comme l'argile du sculpteur.
Now, Jim Carrey is not fluent in French. He just practiced it out of respect for the country and culture and his fans. And while the French people in the room applauded this kind gesture, fans at home couldn't help but notice that Jim Carrey didn't look like himself. His appearance after the awards seemed to shock everyone, especially when comparing to photos just a couple years ago. His eyes looked brighter and almost glassy. The wrinkles around his eyes looked different. His eyebrows were faded and raised, his jawline looked crooked, his cheeks looked abnormally puffy, and even his skin looked plastic in a way that lost all his expression. But as soon as he started speaking in English during the post-event interviews, it was almost like his entire personality had been swapped with someone else's.
I practiced it like crazy, but you know, it's then I watched everybody talking 1,000 miles an hour up there receiving their awards, and I was like, I'm dead. And I made mistakes, and I was like a novice. I felt a lot of love, and I felt a lot of appreciation that I tried.
Now, to be fair, higher resolution photos of Jim from that night do make him look slightly more normal, but there still seems to be this uncanny feeling everyone has that he doesn't quite resemble the Jim we once knew. His behavior was concerning, especially when you consider what we saw in 2017, where Jim was very against the idea of accepting a superficial award presented by a corrupt body of voters on a carpet full of people pretending to be more important than they are.
I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join, and here I am.
But it is important to know that when Jim Carrey was mocking the industry in this interview, he was in a lot of pain. His girlfriend, Cathriona White, had passed 2 years prior, and he felt like he was going through the monotonous motions in a meaningless Hollywood environment. Then again, Jim has a long history of being openly outspoken against the powers that be in corrupt Hollywood, like when he went on Kimmel in 2014 and mocked the Illuminati.
I'm here tonight to blow the lid off it, to be the whistleblower. I'm sick and tired of the secrets and the lies. It is the secret symbol of the Illuminati, and you're a part of it, and it is the all-mocking tongue.
Some people looked at his mockery as brave, that he was potentially exposing the truth and putting his life in danger. They also used this to justify that he was somehow dealt with to prevent him from continuing his attacks on Hollywood, because it wasn't too long ago that he was talking about things you never hear A-list actors talk about.
Or we go through the gate of forgiveness, which leads to grace. Your being here is an indication that you've made that decision already. You've made the decision to walk through the gate of forgiveness to grace, just as Christ did on the cross.
However, others perceive Jim's new appearance as him submitting, conforming, or falling victim to the new Hollywood order, and because of this, it's reopened conspiracies about celebrity clones, how people with fame, wealth, and power are allegedly replaced by someone else to, well, we don't know why. Now, most of these theories are lacking extremely substantial evidence. For example, there have been repeated attempts from chronically online people to convince the world that Eminem was cloned years ago. They'll share side-by-side photos of Slim Shady with a slight difference in his hairstyle and skin, completely leaving out the context that they're using photos from him in his 20s with photos of him in his 40s after overcoming a brutal alcohol and pill addiction, which we all know that drugs and alcohol can drastically change one's appearance. There are also theories that punk artist Avril Lavigne secretly died in 2003 and was replaced by a body double named Melissa Vandella, and still to this day she laughs at anyone who says she was cloned.
I mean, it's just funny to me. At one end, everyone's like, oh my god, you look the exact same, you haven't aged a day. But then other people are like, there's a conspiracy theory that I'm not me. Honestly, it's not that bad, it could be worse.
There's even a rumor that rapper Gucci Mane was cloned following his release from prison in 2016, as he went from a lean-addicted, overweight gangster to a completely jacked, handsome, and friendly role model telling people to eat healthier.
Yeah, this is Kale right here, trying to be healthy. Everybody is sad and confused, but I'm healthy and happy.
People have cited his physical changes following the release as an indicator that Gucci was replaced to sell more records. However, most people understand that drugs and a lack of exercise make you heavier. If you replace that with daily workouts, a new beard, and years of isolation to change, you're likely not going to look that much like your former self. So despite the simple fact that people just change naturally over time, there are vast amounts of people who genuinely believe these artists were cloned, that their DNA was stolen, placed in a remote lab, and rapidly aged them to make a few $1,000,000 in profit. Now, a more realistic and fun conspiracy to consider is that these A-listers find a body double or long-lost twin and give them makeup and a mask to look exactly like them. The idea that a celebrity is so fed up with traveling and being a superstar that they find someone who looks exactly like them to go and do press runs or concerts while the real star sits at home watching YouTube is honestly not that crazy to think. Even Jim Carrey admitted to doing this.
Using a decoy, it sounds so ridiculous, but it works like a
double.
Jim Carrey double.
Well, yeah, that's amazing.
So what I do is I send him off in one direction, sucks all the press in that direction, and I can just have my day. And
whatever you want to do.
Wherever I want, totally unmolested. It's fantastic.
But it gets pretty disturbing when we're not talking about Hollywood celebrities and instead people who hold public office or pull the strings in powerful positions. When President Joe Biden's mental decline became more and more noticeable, a large number of people started to point out that he might be replaced by actors on occasion to cover up how poor his health was. They pointed out tags along his ears that might indicate him wearing a mask, or showing how his skin would seemingly stick in ways that appeared unnatural.
North Carolina, and he was a very conservative guy who was very, very...
Oh my gosh, that's a mask.
African-American.
There have also been theories tossed around after Ghislaine Maxwell's recent interrogation, with people pointing out her nose, eye level, and facial width as an indicator that she got a private, unofficial plea deal and was replaced by a body double. Even Epstein himself was believed by some to have escaped prison with the assistance of federal agencies, with a photo being shared online of a bearded man walking the streets of Israel. However, most of this has been debunked when it was revealed to be manipulated by OpenAI. But when it came to the new face of Jim Carrey at the Caesar Awards, things only got more complicated when someone on social media posted an alleged Jim Carrey mask that looked eerily similar to what we all saw on the red carpet. On March 2nd, 2026, a mask and makeup artist named Alexis Stone posted on Instagram with Jim Carrey's face saying, "Alexis Stone as Jim Carrey in Paris." Along with the initial photo, Alexis posted another image with Carrey's new look, along with what we now know as an AI-generated image of a Jim Carrey mask and makeup. But when you learn more about Alexis Stone, a collaboration with Jim Carrey just seemed to make sense. Most of Alex's stunts involve him putting on a mask and makeup with a comedic twist, like dressing up as Cruella de Vil, Miss Doubtfire, Mona Lisa, and Jack Nicholson. Although people know these are just costumes, he still attracts the press, who swarm him with photos. I wouldn't be surprised if some some people were fooled. Alexis runs a Scotland-based special effects makeup studio where I can only imagine he works with the entertainment industry to create realistic masks and bodysuits. Now sure, a lot of his masks look obnoxious, unrealistic, and uncanny on purpose, because it serves as great marketing for his business. But other masks he makes are incredibly realistic. Ones where if I saw him in real life and I wasn't paying attention up close, I wouldn't be able to tell that it was a mask. And even if Alexis was just trying to take credit for something that he didn't do, which is genius marketing by the way, the idea of him and Carrey coming together to essentially prank the world sounds like something Jim might do. After all, this wouldn't be the first time Carrey has pulled off a stunt for the sake of performance art. He famously went full method to portray his idol, performance artist Andy Kaufman, where he'd interact with members of Kaufman's family and refuse to break character.
And no one really knew what was real and not real half the time. I didn't know what was real and not real. You just went with Andy and Tony and wherever their whim took you.
I mean, if I want to choose to do something, you should support me. I mean, I don't understand why you're always negative. And
Andy Kaufman's entire career was basically an experiment in how far he could blur the lines between comedy, performance art, and real life. And when Jim played the role as Andy for a biopic, he fully believed that Andy Kaufman had a paranormal control over his mind and body. I didn't black out, but the balance was way in Andy's corner. I broke a couple of times on weekends and stuff, but pretty much from when I woke up to when I went to bed, the choices were all his.
Whatever you are, it's like everything are these abstract structures that you're given. And it's supposed to hold you together somehow, you know? And I've just given them up, you know? And I don't need to be held together. I'm fine just floating through space like Andy, you know, just flying 6,000 miles an hour around the sun, you know, balancing on tectonic plates that are floating on lava, you know, ready for the end times to occur and whatever the hell is going to happen. I'm just great. That's all great.
It looked like Jim Carrey had reached a full-blown awakening. While other actors and performers mindlessly walked the line to secure their careers and the next big paycheck, Carrey wasn't afraid to bash the industry as a soulless example of elitism in American life.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
Now, these clone rumors were widespread so quickly that it warranted a response. The Caesar Awards General Delegate Gregory Collier said, "For me, it's a non-issue. I just remember his generosity, his kindness, his benevolence, his elegance. Jim Carrey's visit has been planned since this summer. From the outset, he was extremely touched by the Academy's invitation. 8 months of ongoing constructive discussions. He worked on his speech in French for months, asking me about the exact pronunciation of certain words." Additionally, Carrey's longtime publicist, Marlia Leslie, tells TMZ, Jim Carrey attended the Caesar Awards, where he accepted his honorary Caesar Award. Now, there are some people that think these responses are vague and don't actually clear anything up. Like if you think back to Avril Lavigne's response, where she just basically said, I'm actually me, I don't know what you want me to say. How is Jim Carrey realistically supposed to respond to this? He's supposed to post a video like tugging at his face saying like, oh no, it's not a mask and I'm definitely not cloned, because if he did that, it would raise even more suspicion. However, even if you don't think he was cloned or if he was wearing some elaborate mask, it seems like we now have irrefutable evidence that he has had some kind of plastic surgery, which perhaps is the most disappointing, because while we expect this from the herds of Ozempic addicted, rapidly aging elites desperately clinging on to their youth, Carrey seems like the last guy who needed or wanted to keep up with that never-ending insecurity battle. Plus, the very thing that made Jim Carrey iconic and relatable to begin with was what he was able to do with his face. Even before Jim Carrey was famous, he was mastering the art of completely transforming his own face to capture different personalities.
Nicholson doing the joke.
And when it came to Hollywood's perception of the way people looked, Carrey always appeared to find a clever way to mock the superficial behavior, like when he went on the Graham Norton show and made a light joke at Margot Robbie's expense.
Wanted to talk to you because you're amazing and I'm so excited for you.
Oh,
it's
thanks.
incredible that you've gotten as far as you have with your obvious physical disadvantages. That's just pure talent there. Just a talent override there.
It was his decades of wacky yet iconic faces combined with a genuine disdain for superficial Hollywood that made fans double take at a seemingly plastic Jim Carrey. Plus, you have plastic surgeons on YouTube claiming that there is no doubt he had work done.
Hi, this is Dr. Steinberg for Alpha Male Plastic Surgery. Now, here's the latest of Jim Carrey. So definitely very masculine appearing here. Sometimes when people get a little bit overfilled, they can be more feminized. This face is higher, and we can tell that because there's a descent of the tip, there's the descent of a chin. One little hint that I can see is his transverse rhytids, the wrinkles, are a little bit higher and elevated here, which is a sign of an endoscopic brow lift. He's definitely had some filler here. May have had some implantations here. Could have been a jaw implant, a wraparound implant, or it could just be a lift with injectables, either a filler, which is off the shelf like a hyaluronic acid, or it could be some fat.
Jim's never needed to preserve his face for future movie opportunities, but permanently altering his face with filler and invasive surgery felt like an abandonment of his principles as an artist. Then again, it's not that hard to be convinced to get these surgeries when literally every single person in Hollywood is doing it, and we all feel some insecurity about aging. And whether Jim Carrey was doing some sort of social experiment or performance art, or just showing signs of human vanity, the fact that so many people were convinced so quickly that this was not the real him is scary, and proves we can't even trust the things we see with our own eyes. While AI and deepfakes have been around for a long time, most of us used to be able to easily notice them and turn it into a joke. But over the past few years, it looks like it's getting way harder to tell the difference. A nonprofit asked 1,000 teenagers aged 13 to 18 about their experiences with media made by generative AI tools. About 35% reported being deceived by fake content online. However, a larger 41% reported they had encountered content that was real yet misleading, and 22% said they had shared information that turned out to be fake. But it's not hard to see how every generation is going to have to grapple with this problem, because it's not just memes or celebrity shenanigans that are being AI generated. You might not even be able to trust the local news anymore.
White House unveils plan to train bald eagles as patriotic aerial surveillance units.
Can you tell the difference?
Well, President Trump meets today with another global leader as his administration promises more trade deals.
The one on the left is AI generated, while the right is real.
According to people like Professor Edward Delp at Purdue University, we're entering a period where we're going to possibly lose the battle for reality against technology in ways we don't even realize.
I also believe that we may get to a point in our society where you can't believe anything unless you've seen it with your own eyes, or you get the content from some really trusted third party.
And third parties and trustworthy sources might not be enough, especially when it comes to masks, where it is already being proven that large amounts of people are failing to notice the difference. To many of us, the rapid evolution of masks and realistic cosmetics is a brand new thing. The fact is, the government's been using it to pull the wool over our eyes for decades. Agencies like the FBI and CIA have been working on masks for so long that they've been able to sit next to strangers and even presidents without them noticing a damn thing.
We made a second one that turned me into a younger, prettier woman. I loved this mask. So we went to the White House. We went in the Oval Office. So I showed him some photographs of disguises we had done for him when he was chief of disguise. I said, you might remember these. He did. I said, so I'm here to show you the next level. He said, so show me. I said, well, I'm wearing it. And I'll take it off and show it to you. And he said, no, don't take it off. And he got up. He came out, walked, and he looked. He went behind me. He was checking it out. He went back. He sat down, and he said, take it off. So I just peeled off my face. Bush really liked it. Bush was smiling. 10 years later, I got a copy of a photograph that they had airbrushed the mask out. And this is the only photograph I ever got. So I'm sitting in front of the president's desk with my hand in the air, holding the mask, showing it to him. And they airbrushed it out.
They airbrushed the mask out.
Yeah. It was classified.
So a powerful or popular person using a mask isn't really much of a conspiracy theory anymore. Jim Carrey even admitted that he was coached by the CIA when filming The Grinch to avoid stress while wearing the green suit.
I told Ron Howard I couldn't do the movie. Then Brian Grazer came in and came up with a brilliant idea, which was to hire a gentleman who is trained to teach CIA operatives how to endure torture. And so that's how I got through The Grinch. He said, eat everything you see, and if you're freaking out and you start to spiral downward, turn the television on, change a pattern, have someone you know come up and smack you in the head, punch yourself in the leg, so it was, or smoke as much as you possibly can. So I was this Grinch sitting eating.
Whether Jim Carrey is playing some elaborate prank, has simply had plastic surgery, or has been cloned and replaced by someone else, it's becoming clear that we are entering a time where we're sitting with a person we've known our entire lives and not being sure if the figure right in front of us is even real. But if you want a full-blown deep dive on Jim Carrey's awakening, where he exposed Hollywood for the evil place it truly is, check out this video.